Okay, coach success. I'm only 15 minutes late. And it's a beautiful sunny day. After days and days of rain, it's gorgeous. Right, let's go and find Johanna. Back at Ripley Nurseries. I've come over actually because I mentioned last week, just at the end of the vlog, Johanna's stopping working here. So this is the last time I'm going to see her in situ at the garden centre. So I've come over just to meet her for lunch. Just say hello and see what's going on over here. I've just been like having a stroll around, and this has just reminded me, so this is the Sambucus nigra's black lace, and I've just remembered that I fully intended to pick all of my Sambuca berries this year to make Sambuca again, but I forgot. I mean, I'll go and check and see if there's any on there, but I doubt it. The birds do tend to get them pretty quick. I completely forgot, I can't believe it. But talking of berries, I'm just waiting for Johanna. I haven't found her yet actually. I'm just strolling round and round in circles. But look at this, pixie grapes. Little tiny miniature grapevines. How cute is that? And it says, look, for terraces and balconies, so they're not going to be like monster ones, you know, where they grow about 1 metre a second. Also available in white. Someone thinks they're hilarious. Right, I'm going to have to find Johanna because I am starving. The spray coming off.
I'm not going to be doing an advert anytime soon, am I?
So you know that they've got a farm shop here, or like, it's not really a farm shop, but a shop that sells, you know, produce. They are selling these mammoth blood oranges. Look at the size of it. Okay, well, Johanna's got to get back to work because, you know, lunch break and all that. I'm going to go and have a nose around the shop. Yeah, I really need a new trowel. I mean, I know I use the Hori Hori for most things, but look at that one, that's nice. What I want is one of the big scoop-shaped ones. Do you remember I snapped the handle off mine in the spring? I really want another one of those, but I never seem to see them anywhere. Shop, looking at the seeds. There's no field beans, unfortunately, but there's a couple of interesting bits. This is quite cute though. So normally I think of miniature pumpkins, you know, all the little ones, as being ornamental only, but this actually says perfect size for individual servings, so they're obviously edible. It's quite a nice idea actually. I might take note of that one. And also, this is the other thing that I thought was quite interesting. There is a yellow courgette here that is called Shooting Star, and it's a climbing variety. So I had a lot of success with the tromboncinos climbing this year. I might put tromboncinos and a yellow courgette up an arch next year. Ooh, exciting. Something that I've looked at every time I've been to this garden so far, they have these fantastic olive trees, and look at this. Look at the number of olives on this tree. It's nuts. Although Johanna's pretty cross because one of them blew over in the car park and somebody just drove over it and snapped this branch off. Ooh, look at them. Proper dark.
Yeah, they are getting there, aren't they? Such a shame. Such a shame.
So what happened? They just drove over it?
Yeah, it blew over in the wind and they got driven over on the gravel.
Fabulous. But I really should be heading off, although these pansies, I've got a real thing for this like purpley pink colour in the pansies. I love them. Oh, look at this. I came away with nothing. It's a miracle. But I'm getting the coach back to Kingston now, and it would mean I'd have to carry it, and I'm going to the pub when I get to Kingston, so I'd have to have plants with me in the pub, which is not necessarily a big problem, but yeah, I escaped with nothing. Good morning. We are attacking the pond today because, as you can see, it's starting to catch leaves, which is exactly what we don't want it to be doing. So we are going to try and defend it from, this is the main culprit, this chap here, just drops them all straight in. And obviously there's plenty of trees around as well. So as they start to turn, they just all seem to be attracted to the pond. But before we cover it up, what we're going to try and do is get rid of the flag irises, which are in this absolute mass bundle that we've pulled out. We kind of dragged it to the side to try and cut out the flag irises because they're just taking over and they're a bit of a nightmare. Like in this whole bundle, we've got what meant to be 3 pots of flag irises, but they've all just joined into one and sucked in the water lily and all the other bits and pieces and the, what have we got in here? Water buttercup that we want to save as well. So we're just going to try and cut this out and save what we can. Put that back in the pond before we cover it up. Otherwise it'll be there all over winter. It's just an incredibly heavy mass of tangled roots. Luckily, the flag irises are quite easy to see to cut out because they're kind of these big, fat, reddish pink tubers that are buried in there. So we'll get rid of all of that. But to get through it, we're having to cut through. And once again, the magnificent hori hori has come into its own. Because I don't know how we would be getting through this without that serrated edge.
Success? Sort of. Sort of.
Before we move the mass fully back into the centre of the pond, we're just going to pull out as much of the grass that's blown into it as possible, because it just blows into kind of the big mass in the centre and then takes root, and then it just takes over everything. So while we've got it to the edge, we may as well pull as much out as we can. And then we've got to cover it up with netting. That looks a lot better. But look at the size of the mass of these irises that we've pulled out. I mean, they're absolutely solid. I should show you what the irises actually look like, because they are pretty, but they're a real problem because they just form these huge clumps and they take over everything. So yeah, unfortunately, they've got to go. Okay, well, that was a bit of a struggle, but it definitely looks a lot better. And now all I'm going to do is cover it with netting so that leaves don't fall in it over winter, because that was a real problem, what, 2 years ago when we didn't cover it. Woo! Dropped ya, sorry. It has turned into the most beautiful evening. It's absolutely gorgeous up here. Right, netting. Ah, okay, let's go with that then.
That's not quite as stiff as that one.
Let's do that. So yeah, that should keep the leaves off, which I'm pretty pleased about. We've kept it open at this end. The leaves don't tend to come up and blow in this way, but it means that any animals that need access to the water can still get to it. Now we just got to work out what to do with these lumps. Just packing up on our way home, and look what we've just seen. Yeah. Bloomin' field beans. After all the searching, we had them all the time hiding in the shed. I thought we had some. I was utterly convinced as I tore through all of the drawers with seeds in at home, and yeah, it turns out we did have some. Quick update before we head off. Look, we have got the emergence of broad beans. That's the agua dulce. It's quite exciting. No sweet peas yet, but that's understandable. Spinach is coming on really nicely. I'm going to get that into the polytunnel ASAP. But a lot of things have been eaten in here. I mean, we must have had a slug invasion because we've got a lot of sticks rather than leaves. Hey, Lil, lots of sticks we've got in there. Luckily, they haven't gone for the spinach, which is the one that we really want. Oh, she's so fluffy. So fluffy for the winter, huh? Yeah, I know, darling. You got your winter outfit on, haven't you? Look how fluffy, like it's all that like under fluff that she's got now, which is like, she's tripled her size. Right, let's head off. Good morning, happy Saturday. We're just on our way up to the allotment, surprise, surprise. But look at this, talk about unseasonable flowering. Although the camera's not picking that up, it looks very white on the camera. It's actually pink. Look at that. Blackberries are flowering again. Although all the other tomatoes have finished, look at these sun gold, they are still going. I can't believe it. They're a miracle tomato. Actually, it is Halloween weekend, and I can tell you I'm not going to be carving any of my precious uchikakuri squash because I made some soup was it last night? Or the night before, when we had it for lunch, and it was So yeah, I'm not going to be using up any of those to do pumpkin carving for a bit of Halloween jollies. And so, looking at these tomatoes, are you ready? And that's about as Halloweeny as this episode is going to get. Although, actually, having said that, last night I did do something a little bit Halloweeny. Yeah, so I haven't been to the circus for years. And it was completely spur of the moment, like it wasn't planned. We were just strolling across Ealing Common and there was this big, you know, like circus tent, teepee going on, and a man in like a lion tamer's outfit, although there were no lions, there were no animals involved whatsoever. But he was in, you know, the red jacket with the brocade across the front and shouting that the show was starting in 10 minutes. So thought, why not? And really enjoyed myself. Anyway, back to what we're actually supposed to be doing here today. Field beans. Having finally found that packet that I knew I had somewhere, I knew I did. I thought I had a half packet as well, because last year I seem to remember that we only planted half a packet, but that one's completely gone, so I don't know what's happened to that. Maybe when I clear out the shed I'll find them, because I don't know if you can tell behind me, but it's a bit of a tip at the moment, so that's also on the never-ending to-do list, tidy the shed. But anyway, field beans, that packet that we found day before yesterday, whenever it was, hiding in the cupboard, that's what's going in today. We're going to get the field beans in, at least in 2 beds. We seem to have not a great deal of space. I don't know why. We seem to have more growing now and more harvesting now and in the next like couple of months than we have for the whole rest of the year. But we don't have a great deal of space, so I'm going to be doing them in like sections, like half beds. I've got about 4 half beds that I want to do with field beans, and 2 of them I'm going to do today. So yeah, let's get on with that. First bed is going to be the far end of this bed, so we'll have chard in one end and field beans in like 2/3 of the rest of it. But yeah, it means saying goodbye to this courgette. I've decided to take this courgette out because even though it's still producing courgettes, like, can you see these chaps? They're all going soft at the end because it's just a bit late, whereas this variety is going soft at the end. There's little baby ones in there. They're not actually going to come into anything, whereas in the other bed, the other variety of courgettes that I've got are still producing good courgettes. And I'd really like to get the field beans in that bed, so I've just decided I'm going to take what I can off here. But basically, this chap's over.
so cute. Ooh.
Okay, that's stripped. So this is the rhubarb chard, and these are the 3 that I moved the other day. You can see the outside leaves have gone a bit floppy, but the inside stuff has really picked it up. I know somebody who would love him. Is that yum dilly yum scrum a roo? A ruby ruby roo? Yeah. Yeah, so sorry, I was just saying that the rhubarb has really picked up. So those ones that I've moved have transplanted absolutely fine. So I'm just going to weed this, and oh, that was a patty pan. That's obviously faded without me noticing. That's a bit sad. So I'm just going to weed this, rake it all over, and then get some field beans in. Marvellous. So last year I did a whole video about green manure, and I will link it at the end of this video actually, but field beans are probably my absolute favourite because they're quite specific. They're nitrogen fixers, so they're a type of broad bean, not grown for their pods, but they fix nitrogen in the soil, which is why we tend to grow them before crops like brassicas that need a lot of nitrogen to grow well. But they do provide a couple of other things. Firstly, they're absolutely delicious. We ate so many of them last year, and they're pickable all through the winter, so you get fresh greens. Field bean top risotto is one of the finest things going in the winter. I can tell you it's absolutely lovely because they taste like pea shoots, so it's like this really fresh, lovely taste in the middle of winter. Absolutely perfect. But also having green manure, which is pretty much relevant to most of the green manures, is if you can cover your soil over winter, it's just better. Like, it doesn't wash out. We've got very sandy soil, so when it gets rained on a lot of the nutrients just run straight through it, and we end up with sand by the end of the winter. So being able to cover it and have something that's growing in there, so the root structures of the beans that you leave in when you chop them down, because we don't dig them in, because we don't tend to dig things here, we just chop the tops off. The tops either go on top of the soil and kind of rot down like a mulch, or they'll just go straight into the compost bin and become more compost later on. But having the roots in the soil to keep the soil well structured over winter, and to have the leaf across the top like the canopy to stop the leaching of the soil over the winter, I mean, they're just absolutely brilliant. You might be able to tell that I'm a bit of a fan of field beans. The other bed that I'm going to put them in is this one, which has got leeks in one end. So while I'm messing around in the bed, I'm going to weed the leeks and then put them in at the other end of this one too. I'm going to take the calendula out that's in the end of this bed, but you'll see it's going to become a bit of a nursery bed for next year's calendula because the seed is everywhere. The ones that are growing here already are actually self-seeded from the ones that I grew the year before. Yeah, but they've grown really well. They're all in this end, and they are dropping their seed like crazy. So I'll leave the end of this bed, like I say, as a nursery bed. So loads and loads of them will come up in, either they'll overwinter themselves or they'll come up early spring, and I'll just transplant them out of the end of this bed across the rest of the allotment where I want them. The seed are, actually you can see these little curly bits. So when they drop, you can see these are the like the shell casings of the seeds. Makes them sound like bullets, but these are the casings. The actual seeds are much more difficult to see because they're dark. Can you see like that little curly one? It looks like a bit of a sort of a manky caterpillar. That's the actual seed. Yeah, so this is going to be absolutely swamped next year, isn't it, Lil? Huh? Yeah, beautiful girl. We're going to have loads of calendula. We are. We are. How you doing, Fluff Bucket? Lovely girl. Hey, we got a lally roob too. Lally roob. Lally roob. More borlotti to pick, but look at the size of some of these beans that came late. They are whoppers. I don't know what size the beans are going to be inside, but the pods are massive. Let's get a paper bag and pick some more of these. Mum is currently on weeding duty in the old established asparagus bed. So this one has been going for quite a few years now. It's huge actually. And we've decided that to make better use of the space, because some of the crowns are no longer that productive. We've got some whoppers that we really want to keep going, but there are a couple of big gaps in there. And we're going to use, you see in there, there's a big gap where there's not much growing. We're going to put our strawberry plants in there and clear the raised bed that had the strawberries and rhubarb in last year. So we'll have an extra raised bed for growing in next year. Just saves a bit of space. Just looking behind her, look at this. Look at this. Somebody has eaten my last reasonable sized tromboncino. That's outrageous. And look, I had a second one there that was pretty small, but look, they've just taken the end off. Outrageous. Unfortunately, we've still got the two on this side that are whoppers. These were the first two that they actually produced, and we didn't really know what we were doing. And anyway, they're enormous, and I don't think we're going to eat them. We don't really know what to do with them at all. Guys, turned into, I keep saying this, but it's a beautiful evening again. I mean, it's getting pretty dark, but look at that blue sky. It's gorgeous. Must pick some chicory before I leave though. Beautiful. Look at that. Yum diddly scrum is what that is, officially known as yum diddly scrum. So good. Something else on my list of jobs to do, actually, talking of green manure like I was earlier, like this is Phacelia, which is self-seeded, and it's all in amongst the beans. So you can see we have got beans in here, but it's all just got a bit crowded out. These are the ones that were pulled out by the badgers and the foxes and everything else and the birds, and now they're being devoured by the slugs. They're all hidden in the Phacelia, and I really need to sort it out. But they are producing beans, and so I'm going to pick some beans to take home with me tonight. They're not going to be world-class, beautiful, prize-winning specimens, but they are going to be tasty. So can't really complain. And also, to be perfectly honest, I am so grateful to be getting any French beans, because this is the first lot we've got. These started producing, what, about a month ago, probably. All of our French beans that we planted, that like proper climbing ones earlier in the year, everything was gone. We didn't get a single bean off them because the slugs just, well, they just took the plants out the moment I planted them in the ground, basically. So we got nothing. So even though these are a bit of a shambles, I'm really pleased to be picking beans. Okay, wibbly wobbly, you know, wonky veg. It's pretty fashionable, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to take these home and have them for dinner, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Good morning. It is an incredibly grey and soggy day up here. Like, it's not raining at the moment, but it's been raining, not raining, 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 not raining, raining all morning. But anyway, we're up here, and the thing that I want to get done, although in the rain, not so good, I've got the drill with me. Not always the best in torrential rain, but I mean, it's dry at the minute. I want to take the front off the compost bins, because the 3 compost bins that we've got, so we move them from bin to bin, like turning them. The one that is bin number 3, where the ready compost is really ready to come out, and we need to empty that before we can turn the other 2 bins, obviously, over, and then have a free bin to start putting a lot of the winter stuff that we're going to be cutting down soon. So I really want to get that done. So I'm going to take the front off bin number 3 now. I'm not going to be digging it out. I mean, everything is just so soggy. It'd just be like trying to dig out soup at the moment. But if I take the front off, it should be ready that when we're up here, we can just do a little bit at a time, and we'll be able to get that done in, you know, a week or something, a couple of weeks, and then we'll be able to turn the rest of the compost. But it's just like stage 1 of getting the compost done. I tend to kind of dig out the other 2 bins in a day or a couple of days or whatever, because the middle bin just needs to be flipped over, and the first bin, which is the one that's got the fresh stuff in it, it's really, really light, and it just needs to be like flipped into the bin, and so that only takes an hour or so. But the bin with the ready compost in it, it takes a bit more time because it's really heavy. It's like proper solid soil, if you know what I mean. Solid soil, you know what I'm trying to say. It's really heavy, dense stuff, and we bag it up for use, so it just takes that bit more time rather than just like flipping it into a new bin. So that is the fresh compost one. That's the one that's really, really quick to turn. I've got loads in there. And actually this whole system, my 3 bin system, I did a collaboration video with In the Garden with Kate and Eli. This is bin 2, so they just flip sideways, but I did talk about it quite extensively in there, and I even did a diagram. So I will link that video in the notes for this program if you're interested in hearing me ramble on about compost again. But first up, I'm just going to take the front off bin number 3. I'll leave that in place so the soil doesn't fall out, but now it just means we can move that as we go. I've got these blooming oxeye daisies, have self-seeded absolutely everywhere. I might take them home for the garden. Yeah, that needs a weed before we bag it up. So actually, while I've got the drill up here, noticed yesterday that the little platform that Rube sits on, that's inside the chicken house, well, I mean, they both sit on it, but it's her favourite spot when we arrive. She's always up there. Has come loose, and it's all a bit wibbly wobbly. So I'm just going to kind of fix that back into place. And then what else are we going to do? It's really lightening up. I'm sure it's not going to rain again. Am I being optimistic? Yes, but I don't think it's going to rain again. And I've got some achocha to pick, and also some chard. We might be up here slightly longer than I thought we were going to be. girlie. You got your platform back. You have. Little chicken. I know. I know. Yeah, and you really. Yeah. She's such a pretty girl. Really looked like it was going to start brightening up there for a bit. I mean, we did have a glimpse of sunshine, but it's back to being cloud and spitting with rain. So I think it's home time. Hey Rube, is it home time? Well, she's pleased with what we did today anyway. Well, I was just about to upload the video this morning and I realised I'd never done like the cheers ending bit. What have we done this week? Summarising. So anyway, I'm on my way out. I'm going to upload in the pub, so I'll be able to do a cheers in there. But it's been a bit of a weird discombobulated week because I forgot the clocks went back. They went back yesterday, so obviously that threw me well out. And now it's Halloween. It's all over the place. But overall, pretty successful week. Shame we didn't get down to see Johanna's garden, but obviously she was working and I just wanted to see her like one last time in the garden centre because, I mean, to be honest, I probably won't ever go back to that garden centre. I mean, she doesn't even live that close to it, which is one of the reasons why she's leaving, because it takes her ages to get there. It kind of makes it a bit pointless. So yeah, it's just like stuck out in the middle of the nowhere. So yeah, that's probably the last time I'm going to end up at Ripley Garden Centre, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm sure there's many more garden centres in my future. Yeah, basically a bit of a weird ending to this week's vlog. I'm sort of standing in a car park at the moment, on my way to the pub, having forgotten to cheers you. So anyway, I'm going to walk to the pub now and I'm going to cheers you from in there, and then that's the end of this week, and I will see you next week, I guess. No idea what to do with them.